Like Lokesh has said, I work for Aris Communications. Aris is a 30-year-old company based out of California, and we have been working in the M2M world for last 30 years. M2M means machine-to-machine communication, right? It would be a really different idea to understand how someone in 1992 understood that there is a scope and market for machine-to-machine communication when the local telecom world was also growing. So I really have a lot of respect for that person who got this company up and running. Now we are quite big. We are an MVNO outside India, and we are among top 10 in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant as well. Like you see, these numbers are just reflecting on what we do on a daily basis. 1.4 billion IoT messages per day we exchange to our platform. So this is on the technology part of this, the IT part of it, not technology as a technology is a wider domain. This is the IT part of. We also work with connected vehicles. On the connected vehicles, we have our own connected vehicles platform. Okay, which is we are having a couple of joint ventures with big OEMs like Mitsubishi and Volkswagen, where their connected vehicles will have our platform and connected technology. So that's what we have been doing on a larger front outside India. From India, we handle business of Africa and Europe. Okay, and this is more on solution driven, and that's where our realistic expectations have been set on what India is ready to adopt from IoT perspective, from an advanced technology perspective, and what India is not ready to accept. Right, India, as in the Indian ecosystem of players whom we are targeting, like an automotive industry or a manufacturing plant or a healthcare industry or a financial industry. What are these guys ready to accept? Okay. These are some of our partners. We have partnered with AT&T, BSNL, Tech Mahindra, Excel, Axiata. Excel is, I know it's an Indonesian company, right? And we have a Vodafone, Airtel, and BSNL for connectivity partners. We have Altizone, FluxGen for other technology solutions that we go with. We have our cloud partner in Google, that is a global cloud partner for us. We use a global cloud platform. These are presence in India and Africa and Southeast Asia. The dots represent where all we are present across the country or across these three continents, these three regions basically. Okay. I will not take much time over here because it might become very boring for you. Coming to the subject. What do you think is electric vehicles? What would be the definition of electric vehicles? It is basically, from my perspective, it is a medium to travel without consuming a lot of fuel, fossil fuel energy, or using the renewable sources of energy by which helps you in maintaining the environment, gives you more power and more durability. And the major aim right now, though it has been there since long time, but the major aim right now is to really control and help our mother nature by reducing the pollution and after effects of all those combustion engines, right? The EV industry. The EV industry is in a great, is getting a lot of momentum globally. We know that Europe, China, and US have been very under upfront leadership for taking their EV industry to a different level. India has also started today in that, but the market segment is distributed among four-wheelers, three-wheelers, two-wheelers, heavy vehicles. Okay. Now, with the EV industry coming up in 1800s, which you would not believe right now, you would probably be very surprised to understand that the first EV vehicle was designed and developed in 1800s, and the growth you can obviously Google out and see how it grew and why it did not grow. So when something came, a technology as good as that everyone wants to adopt today did not grow for last 200 years. So the reason is basically the cost, the performance, the increase in techno and the cosmopolitan outlook of a vehicle from the usage perspective, the speed, the cost of the fuel. So earlier fossil fuels, consumption fuels, they were coming very cheap until 1950s, 1960s. They were very cheap. So compared to an electric vehicle, the cost of operating was cheaper then. Now when the cost became higher, we have all started shifting to, the first shift happened because of the cost in 1970s, 1980s, when the fossil fuel cost became higher. Then it came to the pollution effects which was happening across the globe. The global warming was there. Temperature of the earth was increasing every third or fifth year. So then people have also started to think from a perspective of controlling the pollution level and the temperature of the earth in the next few years, what everyone has, all the countries have now gotten into actively. Now, the first major breakthrough with Tesla, obviously 2010s, 2009, it was a startup in 2009. You would not believe a startup grew to the one of the biggest companies today in the automotive sector just because of a breakthrough technology. Will I call it breakthrough? Yes, because it promised to deliver something which can run for more than 200 miles on a single charge and with a good speed. Uh, Alternately, we can also say the timing was so perfect that they, uh, I think Elon Musk, the timing was so perfect that the whole market wanted to adopt it then. The moment they launched this in 2014 or 15 for mass consumption, everybody wanted to have it as an experiment in US, the market which it was. If it would have launched in India, it would have flopped like uh, other companies that tried to. So the market, the timing, these are critical factors to understand what product should be launched and when should it be launched and where should it be launched, right? If you see, China had a very, very good positive impact in adoption of electric vehicles. Right now, according to the 19 data, 45% of all the electric vehicles produced across the globe have been adopted in China. Now, with this 45% of adoption of all the electric vehicles, please mark the word, all the electric vehicles produced. But what is the percentage of China's adoption from its own consumption produced? So for every 100 vehicles sold in China, 5 vehicles are electric vehicles. So it's only 5%. Whereas if you see Norway, this percentage goes up to 60%. So every 100 vehicles sold in Norway, there are 60 vehicles that are electric in nature. The growth has been phenomenal in Europe, 44% year-on-year growth. While you see on the top of this chart, I'll just show you. Uh, on the top of this chart, there is a 9% growth in the from 2018 to 19, whereas this is a global growth of 9%, which has declined over the year if you compare to previous years. But European growth has increased to 46%. So Europe is a very, very uh, significant market from the adoption of electric vehicle perspective. Netherlands have been pushing a lot harder to adopt where 20 or 25% of the total vehicles being electric, right? Now, where is India in all this scene? India is nowhere, to be honest. India is nowhere. All these markets are majorly driven by cars, the four-wheelers that they produce. India is a low utility segment where we are trying to push two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and somewhat on the heavy vehicle side, like Ashok Leyland taking the lead to get the buses out on the roads, electric buses. You would have, a lot of you would have seen electric buses being used by Pune Municipal Corporation and the local transportation in Pune or in Mumbai, you would have seen across Maharashtra as well. So these are three segments where adoption is there in India, but the mass adoption happens only when either the lower segment of the society gets the electric vehicles or the four-wheelers gets into electric vehicle production in India. What is the ecosystem of these electric vehicles, what we are talking about? Now, if you call about ecosystem involves almost everything. Whoever is responsible in ecosystem, they are all involved in ecosystem. Now, we have a big central role to be played by government. There could be, for any industry to prosper and grow in a country, be it India or any European country, the government support is very, very critical. That's why I place government in the center of this ecosystem. Now we have EV OEM. OEMs are the ones who manufacture these vehicles, original equipment manufacturers. So like a Kinetic Green in Pune is an EV OEM. Torque in Pune is an EV OEM. Revolt is an OEM. Ether Energy is an OEM. Mahindra Electric Vehicles is an OEM of electric vehicle. Pure EV is an OEM. So these are electric vehicle OEM. They make electric vehicles, right? But they need support of the infrastructure. Like what is EV infra? EV infra is a term used to denote the industry where infrastructure has been developed from charging perspective, like charging infrastructure. How many charging stations? Like Sun Mobility has its own charging infrastructure. Now, this infra comes in two ways. You either create an infrastructure of chargers across the country, okay, basis you start in Bangalore, you start in Delhi, you start in Mumbai, or you HP or a BPCL putting a charging station at their petrol pumps, right? Or the second thing is you put a swappable battery model. So you also go ahead and put swappable battery stations where one can come and swap the battery with their vehicle. So when the battery is getting discharged, the person comes, pays certain amount, and takes the new battery with him. So this is a charging swapping model. So this has to be there in the country where you want to propagate electric vehicles to the last corner to everyone, and there should be an easier adoption from a consumer perspective. Now, what are the components industry? The components are controllers, the electric wiring, there is lights, there are smart lights, there are smart locks. So there are so many things as component. There are IoT devices as a component. So there are so many components. So are we enough? Are we having enough component manufacturers in India? The answer currently is no. We don't have. Do we have technology? We probably have the technology more on the battery side, but are we using the technology to fullest? I think we are still yet to utilize that. Now, the fourth part, important part, which is the most critical part of an electric vehicle, is the battery. It covers the cost of 40 to 50% of the whole vehicle, the battery. Now, batteries have been evolving over time. It's another topic on which there are seminars being held for 3 days a week to understand what is the battery technology to be the most optimum technology for an Indian vehicle market, Indian electric vehicle market, or probably for a two-wheeler electric vehicle market or a three-wheeler electric vehicle market. This is a wide discussed topic. Right now, everybody is moving to lithium ion, but you never know because lithium ion is very, very costly. We don't have resources to make in house. And with government policies like FAME 2, they are pushing you to adopt more and more indigenous products. So it's a big challenge. Battery OEM is a big challenge right now. Apart from this, there are banks and FIs. So if you understand, it's not no different from a regular IC internal combustion engine automotive market. It's no different. There should be a financial to support your consumers to buy the vehicle, right? So there's a dearth of banks and financial institutions who will help customers or consumers to buy this vehicle on the retail point. There are not many banks or financial who are supporting it. If they are supporting it, their rate of interest is very, very high. The term of the loan is very, very low. So it's not helping the ecosystem to grow as fast as it should be growing right now. What is insurance player doing? There are insurance players who are yet to understand how to cover this insurance. So the most important part is battery, which is the highest cover. Are they willing to go to battery coverage? There are some who are, a couple of them are willing to take this challenge, but at a very, very small volume. So that again stops your push to the mass market. So these factors of banks and insurance are actually not helping the current ecosystem to grow as fast or even at half 1.5x of the speed that it should be growing. So that's one of the challenge which everyone is facing right now. Investors are there in the market, but post corona everything has changed. The money is not floating around now. So everyone investor is putting money only when it is very, very sure about the returns, right? Like the bigger companies like Ether and all are getting the money back because they have big backing from Buncells and other investment companies, PE companies. But the smaller players who are doing good in regional areas, they are not getting investments to grow their market. So that's one of the other challenges. The IoT is another ecosystem player. Why IoT? I will talk in detail later on. This is particularly close to me, but on a high level, you can understand that it's a part of the ecosystem. From a perspective, it will give you the performance of the vehicle. Once you have IoT integrated vehicle, you always get to know the performance of the unknown things, right? So I'll move ahead and I'll take IoT in detail later. Boosters to EV. I'm sure everybody who is interested in EV and would have read even a search on what is India doing for EV. You FAME 2. FAME 2 is basically faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. Now, this has been a DHI, Department of Heavy Industries in India. They have released this policy in order to propel the growth of electric vehicles in India. What they say is they give an incentive of rupees 10,000 per kilowatt hour of the bike. So to the end consumer, this incentive could be passed through the distribution or the OEM manufacturer, OEM of the electric vehicle. So this is one big step. But what the challenge which comes here is there are two challenges primarily. One is it should be mostly indigenous in nature. The whole bike should have indigenous components like the lights or the body or the controller. These should be indigenous in nature. The 50% plus parts should the cost of the vehicle should be coming from indigenous manufactured components. That's one of the challenges these guys are facing. The other thing which these guys are facing is it's also look, besides being indigenous, the government also needs a lot of certifications for these vehicles to be there. So certification is it's not an easy process. and especially in these times, last 6 months have been very, very difficult from a certification perspective because people have to travel and take their product to Pune to an ARI center or an ICAT center for certification of these vehicles. So there are some challenges, but this policy, the industry is positive about this policy. From a perspective, at least something is being passed. This is a policy from the union government, the central government. There are additional state government policies like Maharashtra has it, Delhi has it. A lot of people would have read about Delhi because it's the latest which has come through and has got a lot of significant social media coverage because they are giving additional. There's no registration fee for any vehicles being sold in Delhi, electric vehicles sold in Delhi. So there are a lot of boosters over there, and a lot of state governments have come up with like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. But on a flip side, yeah, these policies are yet to be implemented in full or even partially. Like in Maharashtra, I don't see it getting implemented very soon. Uh, More flexible end product. So now, with the central government giving an authority for sale of electric vehicle, which is mostly carried through batteries cost. Now the OEMs can reduce that part of the cost and give consumers the flexibility to choose battery outside their premises as well. Now, what happens in these environment? The flexible product, the cost goes probably 50% of the original, or 60% of the original cost. And at OEM point, the finance was a problem. That problem gets resolved over here because the cost of ownership becomes much lower. Now, once you buy that whole unit, you can always go for a battery, and you can also ask the OEM for a battery. So you have an option. The consumer has an option to buy it, right? So that's one of the flexible thing that has come recently. Ecosystem is flooded with enthusiasts and startups like you guys are enthusiasts. There's so many people who are coming out of their colleges fresh, and they are getting into EV stock, either battery OEM technology because you guys are very, very close to technology. People are creating their own batteries, trying different experiments. There are different uh, cells that have been created in IITs or the premium institutions where they're supporting development of such startups who are promoting ecosystem of EV, whether it's an EV OEM, a model of bike, a high-speed bike, high-speed electric three-wheeler, or a car, automated car. So there are systems that are promoting it. Even the educational institutions are promoting it. This EV manufacturing is very easy to assemble. So one could imagine looking at Bajaj plant in Chakan, that how extensive are force motors in Chinchwar, that how extensive is this EV, automotive manufacturing. It's a huge plant, but when you go and see someone like Kinetic Green or Jitendra EV in Nasik, you will go and understand that the electric vehicle manufacturing doesn't need a lot of space or a lot of investment, upfront investment to manufacture. It's more on assemble, and you can create an electric bike with a small batch processing. Probably I've seen batches of probably 25, 30 meters itself where you can create the whole electric two-wheeler or a three-wheeler. So the requirement of upfront investment is not very high for making it, and that's one of the reasons why so many startups are coming here because the initial entry barrier financially is not very high. The initial, mark the word initial, right? Lesser investment to reach your end product. So obviously, since the initial barrier of cost is not very high, so it's a lesser investment from your perspective. Even time perspective, it is lesser investment because you have so many data and facts available on Google that you can go Google it. You can bring something from China, Taiwan, or Europe and create your bike in probably a day itself. You just have to order the parts and you just have to assemble them. That's one of the easier things. Certifications are there. So these certifications, like I talked about, ICAT and ARI, they are based in Pune itself. They certify all these vehicles on the performance and the security perspective. There is also a very, very big thing which has come up in form of policy support from government. Why EVs? You would have seen so many electric vehicles in Pune or across the country. Is because there are so many EVs with less than 250-watt motor, the power of the vehicle, or the speed of them is less than 24, 25 kilometers per hour. These EVs are at a very, very low price. These are using mostly lead acid batteries, and the cost was around 30, 40K per vehicle. So these vehicles did not need registration. So there was no registration needed. There is no registration needed for these vehicles. So adoption and purchase of these vehicles were very, very high. And Besides this, it was also one of the reasons why manufacturers were more inclined towards making such vehicles with lead acid batteries. Now, what came with FAME 2 policy was you will get a benefit of incentive only when it is a lithium ion. So there comes the challenge. People were creating bikes, but on a lead acid battery, and FAME 2 incentivized lithium ion. Now, the first challenge came. This this suddenly stirred the OEMs. All the OEMs were having their own manufacturing and their components line up, their orders placed for this from the supply chain system, and this instigated a fact that you know everybody was ready for something else. They were all planning gloomy days ahead, and suddenly somebody comes and says that, oh, you these raw materials are no use or are of no use because you will get benefit only when the battery is a lithium ion battery. So they had to re-strategize themselves, create designs. The second thing which came with FAME 2 was also indigenous products. So they had to also stop, sourcing products from China or anywhere outside, and this created a little bit of barrier in their current strategies. And what happened worse to them, as soon as this FAME 2 came, the global phenomena of COVID-19 also struck everyone. And while you could not import things, you didn't have resources in house also to support your current running costs. So a lot of startups during these times, during the last 7 months, have stopped their operations. The dealerships anyways were closed because of the reasons of containment. The B2B business also suffered because they did not have raw materials to create the bikes. So, and there were certain OEMs who had the inventory, but they could not sell because they did not have the right distribution. So all this led to a lot of challenges in the ecosystem in the last 7 months. Now you see on the right side, there is a table of electric eligibility criteria for FAME India 2, right? So this is just for your information. These are the criteria for how a vehicle is eligible for FAME 2 certification in India, FAME 2 benefits in India, right? So this something has to be there from a perspective of minimum range. A vehicle can run on a single charge. The acceleration it can go up to, the maximum speed it can go up to, right? Now, these are some of the technical challenges which I showed you. But what are the real-time challenges? These organizations are also startups. Now, being a startup, it's like when one of you will go ahead and create a company for yours in this segment, you may have a lot of knowledge on the technical part of you may have a lot of knowledge on the business part of it, but an organizational knowledge is very, very important to create an organization driven by value, culture, and a proper strategy to support. Since you don't have investor, your strategy always gets rotating around the investor point of view. So tomorrow, if an investor says, I need something on a high-speed vehicle, your strategy will change. Okay, I have an investor, I'll get a high-speed vehicle. Day after tomorrow, that's the first investor says no later on, and the second investor comes and says, I need a low-speed vehicle, then your strategy changes. So there are organizational challenges for startups in this ecosystem where there are a lot of too many points to focus and too less of an experience to go focus on these points. And obviously, the lack of cost and funding always hurts, right? The last challenge, which is one of the critical, is insignificant infrastructure. So India doesn't have an infrastructure. Insignificant is a sugar-coated term. India doesn't have an infrastructure for electric vehicle adoption as of now. The current way how the vehicles are being charged, the batteries are pulled out, they are plugged in a normal socket like a home socket or a shop socket, and then it takes 4 hours to 6 hours to charge the battery. Typically, it happens during the night time. There are certain companies who are helping for a fast charging stations, but far from adoption, far from adoption. Now, for all your entrepreneurs, the opportunity lies in the bottom of the pyramid. There is huge mass. Like I said, India is focusing on low utility, low cost vehicles, which are electric three-wheelers or electric two-wheeler. So there's a lot of opportunity at the bottom of the pyramid in tier 2, tier 3 cities, where the mass population, if no, they get confidence about the product, if they get confidence about the product, it will be very, very important and critical, to expand this business through your dealership and distribution presence. So the second point also comes in the regional distributed manufacturing, where your manufacturing units, because these are very, very small setup, small investment setups. So manufacturing has also to be distributed to increase that awareness about electric vehicle and the performance of it. So right now people have a lot of concepts like the vehicle will not run for 50 kilometers, 30 kilometers. If you would be amazed to know that today a two-wheeler doesn't run more than 25 to 30 kilometers a day if you carry the average distance that a two-wheeler runs in India. So you don't need a 100-kilometer running vehicle every day. You need a 50, 80 kilometer, 90-kilometer running vehicle, which is good for everybody's daily uses, right? So, these concepts have to be more clearer with local involvement. So you leave a distributed manufacturing, employ local people. It increases your product presence and the product knowledge as well. You connect with them on the bottom of the pyramid with the rickshawala. So if you see UP, Bihar, Delhi, they have been very fast in adopting to sale of electric three wheelers. Bihar leads the top, leads the packet, right? So they are the biggest buyers of electric three wheelers in the country as of now, closely followed by UP and Delhi. Why is this happening? Because they are the local guys are adopting it for a low cost of maintenance, low cost of ownership. So they anyways take loan from microfinances and local finances. So when the cost of ownership becomes low, the EMIs becomes low and the returns are similar. So 10 rupees for one trip, 20 rupees for a trip, they keep charging that way. And the maintenance is very insignificant. If somebody has gone to those parts, even Delhi or NCR part, you will understand the maintenance of these vehicles are so poor and so low that it makes absolute zero cost maintenance basically. So it's very useful for the low bottom of the pyramid people to have this product available for them. And this is one of the budding areas. We know people manufacturers in Odisha who are doing better than manufacturers in Maharashtra or Karnataka because they're very focused. Someone in Kolkata is doing very good in the eastern part of the country, and they are selling more number of vehicles than a bigger player in Bangalore or Maharashtra, right? So this is focused sales which all these regional players are in, and that's helping them to boost their business. But then again, the future is not very bright because they can't expand beyond the region they know. They don't have the regional expertise of Maharashtra or a national expertise, right? So there are opportunity in product development, fleet adoption. So there are a lot of electric vehicle fleet like you would see in Pune. There are three, four I know which are coming in Bombay. If you would have heard of e-bike go, there is a fleet in Vayu. In Delhi, there is Yulu, there is Bounce. So there are so many fleet companies who are using these products to reduce their cost of operations. Bounce was always there with an ICE vehicle, right? Bajaj, they used Bajaj vehicles earlier. Now, with the current electric vehicle coming, the cost of ownership maintenance has gone low, and their end cost of ownership also has gone low. So their profitability has increased. So everybody is going for electric vehicle now. Besides this, Bounce, there are other companies coming with two wheelers on e-bike segment. E-bike is like more like a cycle kind of a thing, high speed, 25 kilometer per hour speed cycle and all, which are battery operated. They are also becoming a part of now electric vehicle system, though they already existed, but now they are getting more momentum. Being you're getting advantage of a bigger brand called electric vehicle now, right? Role of IoT, you know the usage pattern of the customer, how he is using the vehicle. Because right now, the biggest challenge for me is that as a manufacturer or as a seller or as a product creator, I don't know how my vehicles or my product is being used, what my product's performance is, what the market wants. So all these things are not known. I'm probably making a product, building a product as per my thought processes, my understanding, and global understanding, which is not true for any reason in India. India itself is so diverse that somebody in Bangalore or South probably prefers security over cost, but somebody in Delhi prefers, or somebody in Bihar, UP, they prefer cost over security. So India market itself is so diverse that your performance parameters has to be manipulated and embedded in the vehicle in the end product so that the local market purchases it. So you need to know the distance they travel on a daily basis, the speed at which these vehicles are being driven, the power consumption of these vehicles, the voltage consumption fluctuation in these vehicles once the vehicle is on the road, whether it's a hilly road, hilly terrain, or a plain terrain, bad river road conditions, good road conditions. How are these being used at a consumer level? These will help you in designing new products and probably more focused products, right? You'll also come to know the biggest unknown factor, battery. So you also come to know battery performance on the ground. There are so many things like a BMS, which is battery management system, which you is embed with the battery, and you will get to know the voltage fluctuation, the charging units, how many current associated state of charge, state of health of battery, what is the current at which the battery gets charged. So all this also impacts the current at which the battery gets charged, impacts the performance of the battery and the life cycle of the battery. So this also you can know remotely while you are here. You can do over the air updates on these vehicles on the battery parameter or controller parameters so that your performance of the bike or the vehicle improves. So that also you can do. So the technology plays a huge role for these vehicles. I spoke to one of the OEMs in South, and he said, "Sir, we are not an electric vehicle company. We are a Internet of Things data-oriented company, which who are selling electric vehicles." So he said every electric vehicle will have to have data for our future growth from a futuristic point of view. So these are some of the important things which one should keep in mind. While we call it an Internet of Things, but it is more about data and analytics on the data to understand what product you can get into the market sooner or later, right? I'll just show you because I am from this domain. I'll show you how these things work. So there's an electric vehicle, an electric scooter, or an e-rickshaw. There's a device you can see, a BTS device, which is written. It gets into communication networks. There are APIs from which you can integrate your current platform. So electric vehicle company have their own platform with which you can integrate IoT service providers API and create an end platform for your own customer. So you own the customer. The electric vehicle company owns the customer, right? There are data protection acts or rules policies that are being framed in India, which will help in giving more comfort to customers on a front where people like you and me would want the data which is being stored on the IoT side should not be leaked and misused. So there are data protection policies that are coming in India. A device looks IoT device looks like this. This is as small as it looks in the picture. It has different parameters for performance. Their IP ratings are there, whether it is dust proof, whether it is waterproof, how much can it sustain water damages, how much can it sustain dust damages. So these are IP ratings which are there. Why I'm showing this device is because in the current frame of vehicles, where there are vehicles of L1, L2, L3, L4, L5 models, which are mostly depending on the speed of the vehicle that it promises to deliver. L5 model vehicles need a IoT system to be in place so that the vehicle gets certified. Okay. So these L5 models are high-speed auto rickshaw, which are made on the battery technology, battery-based uh, fueling technology. So it's an electric vehicle. ICAT or ARA approves such vehicles to be sold in market only when the data of the battery is captured on the cloud. So they need to see the data on the servers being updated. So they need to understand the battery performance for all the high-speed vehicles because they don't want any security breaches to happen while the vehicle is on the road. They want to understand why and how the battery is performing. This is a national project. I think with more and more infrastructure set up on the IT side of the country, we'll get to know more about this very policy, the logic behind this policy or the rule, and we'll see how it helps us in developing the market. I have this much for today. Why I'm not getting into details is because I wanted to give you first overview about everything, and then probably understand what are the questions that you guys have, and only after that I would probably come and give you more details about what else can be told to you guys so that it helps in your entrepreneurial dream or your technical dreams of becoming a master in this segment, this ecosystem. Always remember, electric vehicle is not one industry; it's a combination of industry. It's the ecosystem. You have to be anywhere in that ecosystem to support the growth of this industry. Lokesh, I'm open for questions.
Sure, sir. Guys, we're open for questions. You can ask your questions in the chat box. So I'll ask the questions I asked myself. So recently, Elon said that Tesla will be starting operations in India from 2021, right? So you said like if Tesla would have been in India like 10 years ago, it would have been a flop. So what do you think, like whether Tesla will be a hit this time?
Quite an easy question, I would say, Lokesh, because we know the past. Tesla said about the same statements in 2018, 19 as well, and I am sure we none of us have seen anything on Tesla coming into the country, right?
Right.
So I don't think it's a big move. They might have said, and it's being misinterpreted and misbranded as well in
Okay.
Indian. What he said is he's probable of getting something from Tesla in 2021, but he's not promised or committed to anything. Okay, so
Okay.
Elon is Mr. Musk is still keeping his commitments to himself, and it also depends on how ready is the market. So for a Tesla product to be featured in India, it really needs a lot of cost commitments to the Indian consumer market because it's a mass market.
Right.
You cannot bring a luxury product in automotive and say I will sell 10,000 units, right, a
Right.
month. There is a challenge over here.
Okay. So the next question is, won't it be easier to have swappable batteries instead of charge stations?
I am happy that this question came. So there's a difference why swappable batteries are a challenge right now. One, you don't have those many places. Second, the geography and demography of Indian market is such like you need a lot of high level security, physical security to be maintained at the swapping charging stations. Otherwise, your battery will be stolen. Your charging station itself will be stolen, or it could be broken. Also, it could be some malintentions of the local guys could also lead to completely shut down of that location. Right. The second challenge is none of the Indian OEMs or the government regulation. So it's a regulatory driven industry, none of them have come again to specify a standard specification for a battery compartment or a battery that a vehicle can use. So every battery manufacturer has different specification. So charging also becomes swapping battery stations also becomes limited to a single battery OEM or multiple battery OEM, but if it is used for the end consumer, that only the end consumer can decide basis the nature of the vehicle, the battery compartment size. So these are also another challenge why swapping is not growing so fast in India. But yes, it is a solution. It's not a cost light solution, to be honest. The third challenge is also that you need to have those many physical batteries to be installed on those charging stations. So if it's a charging station, swapping the station of say 20 batteries, the 20 batteries cost is there. And like I said, electric vehicle 50% of the cost is the battery cost. So it's a huge cost for a owner to maintain those batteries, charge those batteries. There's power cost of charging those batteries, and misuses of those charging stations can also take place in India, market like India, right? So a lot of challenges on the operational side. So it's still being figured out how to do it. A very big company called Sun Mobility is working on this. The other
Okay.
companies also e-charge infra. Then there's someone in Delhi who are working on it, but they're all working on 10 stations, 5 stations, or something like that. For a country like India, even a city like Pune would need 50s of stations like this
Right.
for a smooth functioning. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is battery swapping technology really feasible? What about the warranty on the battery?
There is warranty on the battery. So, like I said, it's an ecosystem. The first question I think I've answered already. It's a difficult, it's a little difficult for feasibility perspective. But yes, people are working on the right model to implement, to deploy across the country. It needs to be handled at a local level. So you may create a model at a strategic level, but a local implementation and security is much important over here for implementation. Warranty of the battery is given by OEMs. Even today, as on today, what I understand is all the OEMs take care of battery replacements. There are certain good companies like Battery Boss, and all, who are working on this, creating platform for users to call them up and get the battery replaced on within an hour or so, depending on the city and location of the vehicle, right? So warranty is not a big factor. The warranty terms remain same, 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. The battery warranty terms remain same, but the difference comes when what type of battery is it? Is it a lithium ion or lead acid? Lead acid has a very less shelf life. Okay, so it's probably 6 to 9 months shelf life. So it also depends on the type of the battery which your vehicle has, your vehicle supports. So lithium ion is a little costly, but the warranty is not a problem. Performance has been a problem. There has been very uh, not so positive feedback on battery from consumers right now. What I understand from certain big manufacturers. because lithium ion also is a new type of battery for such small vehicles. The power, the voltage, the charging space, all those things also depends, indicates whether your battery will run for a longer life or not. So as it's a startup ecosystem. So I have not said this during my presentation, but it's a startup ecosystem. Everybody is learning as they're implementing. They're learning more and more. I can tell you someone who has launched SUV 500 Mahindra. He's one of the heads of one of the leading electric vehicle companies. He himself has not figured out. He's an R&D head, and he himself has not figured out what is the right battery. He has at least done, experiments with 15, 20 battery OEMs across the country or the globe. Still they have not got the right battery. So still people are figuring out which technology will suit the temperature, the hot and humid conditions of India. That also determine the battery nature, that which battery will sustain in that hot and humid conditions. There are a lot of concerns over battery that exists right now, and everybody, a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of associations are working on getting an optimum battery technology that suits different geographies in India or across the globe as well.
Okay. So the next question is, India is a tech conscious nation. So why it is very difficult to introduce EV in the market, which may have low cost than the standard vehicles in coming years?
So India is a tech conscious nation. From a supply perspective, yes, I agree on this. From a demand perspective, I say no. India is not a tech conscious market from a demand perspective. We don't demand. So I would say we don't contribute to the mass of the country. The mass population is driven by non-tech people. They might have started using a smartphone, but that doesn't mean they have become tech savvy. They are following proper steps to see a video in a smartphone, but they don't know if there's something gets stuck. Even today, I know a lot of people in my family itself back home. They don't know how to resolve that step or get back to the home screen. So they know steps to follow. They have mugged up those steps, and that's how we understand that they are tech savvy. They're not tech savvy. From a demand perspective, India is still learning technology. They don't have confidence. Like I said during my presentation, they don't have confidence on technology. This bottom of the pyramid doesn't have confidence. How long will the bike go on battery? Will the bike stop? Will the bike burn? Will the bike explode? So there are a lot of rumors also that goes on social media because of increased social media outreach to these people through a smartphone. There are a lot of funny videos and funny things that keep circulating that has happened one in a million times. So there is a conscious you know conscious effort to propagate this adoption. But from a cost perspective, like he has mentioned, it's lesser than standard vehicles. It is not so. If you go for a performance basis cost, Splendor still comes at 70 or 75K. And these low speed bikes, that's why they went to for a higher sale, which comes around 40, 45K. But a high performing bike is still costed at budgeted at 75 or 80 or 90K, right? There has been the reason why four wheelers have not grown in India is because we have implemented BS6 recently. So OEMs have put a lot of investments to get that BS6 done. BS6 is an emission norm, right? Euro 6 is equivalent to Euro 6. So after that BS6 thing was done, these electric vehicle policies came. So four-wheeler OEMs have been against this policy because they have already invested a lot of money. So there are a lot of automotive internal combustion engine side that are coming on road with a BS6, and these OEMs do not support larger or quicker distribution of electric vehicle internally. They don't support it because they have already made a lot of efforts on the BS6 side. So it's also about the willingness of these bigger OEMs like a Hero, or so you would know that Hero electric vehicle is a different company than Hero Motocorps. So the bigger companies like Bajaj, Hero, Mahindra, they're not going go gaga over four-wheeler market or a two-wheeler market. They're taking small steps, and they indeed have to be in the race because the government wants it. So they don't want to be completely out of it. That's why they're making one or two products every time. But it needs a lot of effort right now.
Right. So there's another question. Like, we know a lot of local electric two-wheeler manufacturers that exist. Why are these companies not able to adopt the market on a large scale? So I recently heard Kunal Shah saying that India is a low trust society. So that's why maybe it's difficult for people to trust startups. So is that a possible reason for that?
I don't think so. India, if you see, has a lot of investments coming inside the country to the right product, the right market. All the local electric two-wheeler manufacturers that exist, they don't have a vision. Not all of them, but some of them don't have the vision. They don't know what to do. They are just like somebody came to me, a location, Hari chatted one fine day that we can create something out of this market. We can make money out of this market. What is the possibility? Yeah, it's so exciting. I can create an electric vehicle product in a month or 2 months time itself with an investment of say 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs itself, right? So I had 10 lakhs in my pocket. Lokesh had 10 lakhs in his pocket. We made 20 lakhs and we created a model HL20. So Hari Lokesh 20. That's the model called. Now, how do you sell the model? So that's what I told during my presentation. It's a lot of other efforts, organizational structure, the vision of the organization, the value of the organization, the product stability, which needs to be there. The focus needs to be there. There are smaller OEMs who are doing very good, which I know of, whom I know about, right? Pure EV in Hyderabad, or a small Jitendra EV in Nasik. They are right focus. They have the right set of team. They're increasing their focus. Still, they have not done the whole nationalization of their product. It's a long journey. They have started with regional approach. They have been targeting regional markets. Like South has been a good market to target recent days. Delhi has been from a low cost three-wheeler perspective, electric vehicle, Delhi has been a very good market. Now that Delhi electric vehicle policy has come up, which supports cheaper adoption of these vehicles, then a lot of OEMs have been focusing on Delhi for electric vehicle penetration, right? So there have been markets where each of these small OEMs have been focusing, but they don't have investor support. They don't have any management support. They don't have understanding of management itself. How do you do the management? So some local consultancies are working on it. I have met so many individual consultants who are working on pro bono capacity, or even at a money. They're taking money for it, they're charging for it, and I still feel there is a lot of confusion in the market in these lower ranges, whether they should go to Netherlands. So I've seen people who are sitting in a city in India and they're talking about Europe market where they have never been. So that has been the state of a lot of small OEMs. Somebody comes and says Europe is a good market because Europe's adoption rate is 46%. Numbers speak a lot of things, but it is not the only thing you should consider for your business decisions. There are a lot of other things which your knowledge also should be there. So I think there is a gap over there.
Absolutely. So the next question we have is, can battery swapping be used for Ola or Uber cars, since those vehicles will be of single owner only and they could save significant amount of time daily?
So Ola, Uber, I think Ola devised a pilot in Nagpur, right? And they were not successful there. They did a year back, I guess, a year and a half back in Nagpur. They were not very successful. They will definitely look for a swapping. So Ola is a mass vehicle again. A mass company is reaching to millions of people, right? So again, swapping could not be the only solution they can go with. They have to have a charging infrastructure. They have to have probably charging stations, right? Like a Tesla has. Like I'll tell you, I've written somewhere in the PPT. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. There's a company called Smarty in Gurgaon. Now Smarty has more than 1,000 car electric three-wheeler fleet. They have their own hubs. So each hub has 100, 200 vehicles, where every vehicle gets charged in the afternoon when the guy comes for lunch, or when the guy returns the vehicle at night. So at night, the whole all the vehicle gets charged, and then morning to evening they run the vehicle, right? And they earn the money. So there are certain companies, fleet companies, who are facilitating these owners, rickshaw owners, also to keep their vehicle at their secured facility where the theft chances are also very low, and let the vehicles being charged. So it also depends on the area, also 5 kilometer area. So if say in Pune it is Walker, so Walker and 5 kilometer around the vehicles can run about. At evening, at end of the day, you come to Walker charging infra at the hub, and you can place your vehicle for charge. Early morning you come next day, take your vehicle. Then again afternoon, where the mobility is less, the shared mobility usage is less in afternoon, where a lot of very less people travel. You come, put the vehicle in charge for a couple of hours, and then again use it. So those models are coming. Ola, Ubers will also use those models. I am very sure about it. And swapping is one of the models which will be there, but unless it is in volumes, it will not help the propagation. Even Mumbai, it's not there. Bangalore, it's not there. So when we're talking about Ola, Uber, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Delhi. These are critical centers, right? So we need lot of investments over here.
Right. So the next question is, in India, major amount of electricity is produced from using coal. So if we shifted from IC engine to electric vehicle, then directly same amount of coal will be required to produce electricity. Then production of electricity should also be shifted. So which will take the place of coal to produce electricity?
That's a good question. From perspective, the the person thinks about energy. Okay, so they're thinking about how do we create on energy. This is an entrepreneurship thing. How do you create more energy? So government has said they have sufficient energy to maintain all the automotive electric charging stations. Considering if everything goes electric by 2030, or even 10% of the vehicles get electric by 2024 or 25, they have sufficient energy there. They are using not only coal, they are also using hydel power electric plants. There are new plants that are coming. They are also using solar plants, solar power cells, right? So there are different forms of renewable energies that the government is working. A lot of plants are being set up in Chennai for windmill, wind-based energy. Then there's hydroelectric power plant that have come, and a lot of contenders have been floated around it. So there are alternate sources of energy that the government is working and promoting. I don't think coal is the only source of energy. The uses of coal will also need to go down since it also creates pollution. Okay.
Right.
We are moving towards that step. Coal is not my only point is here is coal is not the only source of energy right now for electricity. It may be the thermal electricity is one of the biggest sources, but the contribution is decreasing as the time progresses. Everybody is focusing on non-coal, non-fossil fuel energy sources, renewable sources.
Right. So Sid is asking, do you use an EV?
I have used an EV. My brother had a Tesla.
Oh,
So I have used an EV. I have driven a lot of EV vehicles because I'm connected with so many OEMs, more than 60, 70 OEMs in India. So I have driven all of their vehicles, the e-rickshaw. I have driven electric scooter. Personally, I don't like anything which is scooty model. So I prefer bikes over scooties. So whether it's an EV or an IC, I don't care. I will never go for a scooty. A bike, I have ridden an electric bike as well. I liked the ride. It was noiseless. There was no noise out of coming out of the bike. Very smooth to drive. The concern could have been whether I would use it for a long distance ride or not. Right now, I will not use it. Whether do I have a use for it? Electric car. If somebody comes like a Verito or something like that, I don't have a use right now because I have my own car right now. I don't want to change it right now. So I will not go for an EV right away, but because of a lot of infra challenges that I have highlighted earlier as well from adoption perspective. But yes, once I am in a country where electric charging infra is good, I will definitely go for an electric vehicle if I have to buy a new vehicle. If I have to buy a new vehicle, I will prefer electric vehicle.
right, sir. Okay, there's another question. With China being the largest market for automobiles in the world and its government aggressively pushing a future of electric vehicles, will Chinese automakers dominate in the future of global electric vehicles?
China has been a leader in electric vehicles. So I don't know if you guys know about it. They have been leaders. Like I said in the presentation, they have almost 45% contribution in total number of electric vehicles being consumed across the globe. So according to the 19, there are 4.5 million vehicles that China consumes on a yearly basis in 2019, right? But from a domination perspective, I doubt it because the electric vehicle revolution has come little earlier than China would have expected. India could be a major player. A lot of Indian products are being looked globally at. From a three-wheeler, like European markets have already got attraction for three-wheelers, electric three-wheelers, and India is one of the largest producers there. Chinese products are a competitor. African market is being supported by Indian products. So if you guys know or not, I don't know, but a lot of sale of Indian two-wheeler electric internal combustion engine, the petrol engine two-wheelers, right? The Heroes and the TVSs of the country, they sell their sales is very high in African countries as well. So they have a competition from Chinese players, but the adoption for Indian automotive is good across the globe if you compare with China. And with this negative sentiment coming due to COVID-19. Other players have a larger scope of globalizing their product than China. So I think it's still early. What China has done right is taking control over resources. Like I said, lithium ion, they have brought a lot of things in African market, in Middle East, Africa, and even Argentina or Mexico somewhere, right, where these the core natural resources lead exists. So they have captured the resources itself. That's the thing, they have done it right. But and that is the need for a new technology to be there in the battery, because if that technology exists, lithium ion exists, we'll have to go to China.
Right.
So